ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः Ling, Lot and Tavya. These are certain, these are the tenses and suffixes used for for expressing injunctions. We talked about this at length yesterday. And so this has play. So ling means what? Vidhi ling, potential mood. And what is potential mood? You should be doing this. For example, okay? Yeah. What is, tavya? Tavya is a suffix which means this should be done. This is exactly the meaning, that is there in that suffix. And what is lot? Do this. It's an order. So this is the subtle difference between all these three. But despite the fact that there are subtle differences, the overwhelming commonality underlying all the ling, lot and tavya, the specific suffixes, moods and the moods have to do with the fact that they are all used to express injunctions. And I told you yesterday that injunctions have no place at all. Where? In the second portion of the Veda, aka Upanishads. Who are you going to tell what to do what? Do this. You're telling who? The Jnani. Jnani says, why? No, you will be more comfortable. Jnani says, I'm already comfortable. No, you will feel at home. Jnani says, I'm at home with myself. And so I'm at home everywhere. It's kind of that story that is talked about. One fellow on an island, was sitting and fishing. And then one capitalist comes. He is on vacation. And he tells the fisherman, what are you doing? You are just, what are you doing? I'm fishing. I'm a fisherman. This is what I did. This is what my grandfather did, great-grandfather did. Everybody has been doing this. No. How many fish do you catch with this small little line? Well, 5 or 6. Enough for myself, my family, and a few to share with the neighbors. Enough. And he says, no, you're doing this all wrong. Why? No, you should catch lots of fish. In fact, you should buy a trawling machine and dredge the depths of the ocean and then get all these kinds of, all different kinds of fishes. And he says, why? So you can sell them. Why? So you can open a canning factory and salt them and can them. Why should I can them? So you can sell them. Why should I sell them? So you can make lots of money. Why should I make lots of money? So that you can take a holiday and fish in an island like this. He says, I'm already doing that. So that's kind of the effect of ling, lot and tavya on the jnani. It's exactly like that. So there is no use for any injunctions or prohibitions where the matter for jnanam is concerned. Yet we saw the word shraddhatsva, lot here, and so Have Shraddha. There is no please here. You must, not even must, have Shraddha. What are you doing? Have Shraddha or else. This is the kind of a thing. And so one wonders, then suddenly, why in the matter, in the realm of jnanam, injunctions like this, or even atma va are drashtavyah shrotavyah mantavyah nididhyasitavyah, all these things are coming. Why on earth are they coming? If one is, thinking about that, we saw why to have Shraddha. We saw there is still a small piece left which I want to focus on today, is that what is the purpose of saying have Shraddha? Hey, you better have Shraddha. It is not an injunction here, even though it is expressed in the imperative mood in the form of an order. The sadhaka, which in other words, aka the jnani wannabe, is not told to go and have Shraddha, as an order. So what is the purpose of this, of this lot formation, the imperative formation here? The purpose of this imperative formation is so that one understands the connection between Shraddha and Jnana. One understands the connection. That without Shraddha, naturally, there is no Jnanam. No Shraddha, no Jnanam. There was one song long back, no woman, no cry, like that, okay? No Shraddha, no Jnanam, all right? And so, it is not to say you have Shraddha. No, it's not an order. It's just showing a matter of fact. It's a fact. And what is a fact? That which is away from you, or rather to rephrase it, that which you think is away from you, and to put it in the Chandogya's language, that which is away from you is what? That Sat alone, that Sadatma, that Sat which is the cause of the universe, which you think is away from you, that Sat is not really away from you. That is a fact. It's not away from me? No. Okay, if it's not away from me, still I think it is away from me? Yeah. Why? Because what is needed here is Shraddha. What is needed is Shraddha to see that it is not away. Shraddha is the name for the glasses which is going to alter the vision, a vision of division which one brings to the table in the form of class after class, day after day, etc., etc., etc. Business as usual, nothing changes, nothing happens. Why? Because that which is missing, the missing link, so to speak, is Shraddha. Shraddha is the link that is not there. Why? Because we are embarking on something impossible. What is impossible? You are trying to have moksha. It's like saying, even Bhagavan cannot give you moksha. Why? Because your own Swarupa is moksha. Your own Swarupa is moksha. It's like, the person who went and then prayed to the Lord to manifest himself, and the Lord out of compassion manifested himself. Okay, what do you want? And he says, well, I want a head on my shoulders. What? I want a head on my shoulders. So what is this on top of your shoulders that you have already? That is not a cabbage, that's a head. I have already given you a head. Sorry, I can't give you a head over the shoulders. I can give you another one, and you can tell me whether you want it side by side like a freak show, or you want it back to back so that you can confuse your friends whether you are going or coming, they don't know. Or do you want it one on top of the other, like a double-decker bus. In India, England, everywhere there are these double-decker buses, but I cannot give you a head on your shoulders because you already have one. Similarly, oh Lord, give me moksha. And then what will the Lord say? Mudha, oh deluded, oh ye deluded one. What you already are free. Whatever you want to be, you are. I want to be free of samsara, you are. I want to be free of raga and dveshas, you are. I want to be free of being constantly triggered by other people and their issues. You are. There is no other person at all. You are. You are free. I want to not be hounded by all my core issues. You are already not hounded by your core issues. I want to be acceptable. You are. I want to love myself. You are already lovable. Then what to do? It's already what you seek is what you already are. And therefore what? Shraddhatsva. Shraddhatsva means cultivate Shraddha as though there is no tomorrow. Yeah. Because that's the only way. So Shraddhatsva is a matter of fact. It's not an injunction here. It must not be read as an injunction. It is more providing the missing link for the person who is already free and wondering why I don't feel free, for the person who is already whole and wondering why I feel incomplete, and for the person who is already limitless and wondering why one is finite. So for that person, it is not a matter of doing. There's nothing more to do. There's nothing more to do. In fact, doing is one's undoing really in this. So there's nothing more to do. So what is there to, what should I do then? That no doing. Sit and know this. Know this. Yeah, but it rings hollow. When the teacher says, you are the whole, I wonder if the teacher is talking about HOLE, whole, because that's what I feel within, all empty and full of holes. This is what I feel within. And this is the doubt, this is the fear, this is where the problem is. So therefore what? Shraddhatsva. Cultivate Shraddha. How? And for that we just take a little walk over to Samaveda. Shraddhaya Shraddham. Shraddhaya Ashraddham Stara. Cross Ashraddha, the lack of Shraddha by how? Cultivating Shraddha. Shraddhatsva, even that also says that. The antidote to no Shraddha is Shraddha. That's what it is. It's very simple. The antidote to not having Shraddha is to cultivate Shraddha. Have a double dose of Shraddha and then this problem will not be there. And what is this Shraddha? We saw this also. It is trust pending understanding. And it is introduced here. Not at the beginning where people cannot even understand. Not at the end when it is too late. But right in the middle here. It is introduced because there is a whole section. The refrain of which is, if you have a teacher, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. And so many other things talking about Shraddha are going to come, because this is the raft. This is the raft that is going to be strong enough to withstand the undercurrents, the wicked undercurrents of samsara. Shraddha is the raft. Shraddha is the boat that is going to help you to cross over sorrow. Therefore, Shraddhatsva, Don't start analyzing. Okay, so out of this small seed, the big tree came. So, what is the parimana? What is the size of the seed of the Sat? Where will I find the seed of Sat? Sat is seedless, okay? Yeah, like one of those hybrid oranges and grapes. Seedless Sat, all right? You don't look for seed of Sat. It is a causeless as though cause. That existence, that consciousness upon which a causality has been overlaid, so to speak, has been superimposed, so to speak, that which is free of being the cause. And the Jagat, which has supposedly as though come out of it, is free of being the effect. Both are Sat. One is Sat, which is differentiated, which has name and form. The other is Sat without name and form. And therefore he says, Saya Esho Anima. This is why you need to have Shraddha, because what you want to know is subtler than the subtlest. You need a new pair of eyes with which to see this. And that is why in the 11th chapter also, when Arjuna asked to be shown the form of the Lord said, I'll give you some new glasses. That is how the concept of Google glasses was first discovered. Okay, that is the where the patent should lie. And so I'll give you Dadami te chakshuhu. I'll give you a new pair of eyes. Divya chakshu. A special miraculous pair of eyes from which you can watch the whole show. Still he was not satisfied. Why? Because Arjuna, being human being, without really not having assimilated the first 10 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, what did he do? He left himself out. He just sat there eating the popcorn. Very soon the popcorn was shaking in his hand. Popcorn fell down. His knees were shaking. Everything was shaking. And he was just frightened out of his wits. Dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati. So this is not that kind of a chakshu where the bhaya, the fear is going to be reinscribed. The chakshu of the Shastra, which is handled by the teacher, is a different pair of eyes. What does it do? It helps you to see that which evaded you all this time, even though it was right there, even though it is right there. Defined in the Viveka Chudamani, Shraddha is as follows. Shastrasya guruvakyasya satya buddhi avadharana. Shastrasya guruvakyasya satya buddhi avadharana sa shraddha kathita sadbhihi yaya aksharam adhigamyate. So, Shastrasya with reference to the Shastra, Guru Vakyasya with reference to the words of the teacher, because the teacher, the Shastra doesn't come alive without the teacher bringing it to life. That is why the Shastra needs a teacher, needs a guide, because this is pramana vyapara. This is the operation of a pramana which you don't hold. All other means of knowledge are held by you. You operate your eyes, you operate your ears, you operate your sense of touch, smell, taste, etc. You are the operator of inference. You are the operator of similarities, etc., etc. You operate everything. But then this pramana called Shabda Pramana, by which the truth of yourself as the whole is known, that you do not operate. Why? Because your own infrastructure will come in the way. That's why Adi Shankara says, Shastrajñopi swatantrena brahmanveshanam na kuryat. Please don't inquire into Brahman on your own. Swatantrena. Even though you may be a Pandit, you may know Sanskrit, you may know so many things. And then please don't try to read the Upanishad. When you read the Upanishad, what happens is that you will come to the same conclusions with which one was blessed before the Upanishad was there. I don't like myself. That's the refrain. That's the conclusion. I don't have. That's one more conclusion. I want. I lack. And this person reads. Oh, nice. There is Uddalaka. There is Shvetu. Wonderful. And then what? Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi, you are that. How can I be that? Next. You reject it. You see it with a partisan vision of self-hatred, a vision of division, a vision that is false, that is not true at all. And so therefore, the Shastra is there, and the Guru is also available to unfold the Shastra. The Guru is available. The Guru is very much there. Then what happens? Somehow still the knowledge doesn't take place. Why? Because there is a missing link of Shraddha. The missing link is Shraddha, by which there is no receptivity. There is no receptivity. That receptivity should be there. There should be the ability to drop everything and to be able to completely be hooked on the knowledge. That's why yesterday we saw at length the connection between Shraddha and Samadhanam, the single-minded focus. Otherwise, one will be like the lizard gazer, gecko gazer, better, yeah, from yesterday's example. So, instead of looking at set theory, which the arithmetic professor was teaching, and so what was the student? The student was set on watching the gecko make its way into the classroom through through a little aperture between two roof tiles. And did it enter? Yes, only the tail is left. I'm rooting for the gecko. So the Samadhanam and Shraddha go together. They, in fact, each one nurtures the other. So Shastra and Guru Vakya. Guru Vakya is nothing other than, Guru is not saying, let us learn how to make samosas. Although that might be a useful thing to know. On wintry, rainy days, it tastes wonderful. But that is not the main thing here. Let us learn how to make pakodas, samosas. That is not the point here. The point is something entirely different. The point is unfolding the Shabda Pramana. So therefore, Guru Vakya, the Guru here, that which is called the Guru, is an amplifier of the Shastra. And so therefore what happens? So therefore I have to have Satya Buddhi Avadharana. Dharana everybody knows. Here in the papers, in Indian papers, every day there is a dharana. Dharana, I don't think it's a yogic practice. Dharana means some kind of a sit-in is called a dharana. Somebody, fighting for wages. So fighting, between management, labor, there is lots of problems. And then so all the people protest and they have a picket. They have a picket line and they are sitting in. And so this is what is called dharana. So here, avadharana is the ability to hold the Shraddha until it pays off, until the knowledge takes place in an unshakable way. Until then the Shraddha is maintained. After that it becomes your own nature. That trust, pending understanding. When you understand, you don't really need the trust, but then you discover the trust as yourself. And so this is why Shraddhatsva, it's not an injunction. It is more a fact that this knowledge of yourself as free does not come in any other way except through the Shastra and the teacher, and except through understanding this and by being receptive. It's just a matter of fact. And then what happens? He says, Saya Esho Anima. And then what? Aitadatmagam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi Shvetaketu. And what does Shvetaketu say? Bhuya eva bhagavan ma vijñapayatu iti. And what does Uddalaka say? Tatha somya, tathastu. Yes, I will teach you. Then again, we have a nice segue here. And what is the segue? And that also takes us into the 13th khanda, 13th subchapter. And what is the segue here? Let us read the bhashya. Vidyamanamapi vastu. Nobody there to read the bhashya? Maybe I didn't have the right tone. Vidyamanamapi vastu.
Vidyaman vastu.
Ramakrishnan ji, you are there? Yeah, please repeat.
Yeah. Vidyamanamapi vastu.
Na upalabhyate.
Na upalabhyate.
Prakarantarena tu.
Prakarantarena tu.
Upalabhyate iti.
Upalabhyate iti.
Shrinu atra drishtantam.
Shrinu atra drishtantam.
Yadi.
Yadi.
Imam artham.
Tadimam artham.
Pratyakshi kartumichhasi.
Pratyakshi kartumichhasi.
Yeah. So Uddalaka is a very, very seasoned teacher, and he knows all the buzzwords. Yadi pratyakshi kartum ichhasi. Very nicely put. Pratyaksha means sakshatkara. Means if you want to see this directly, if you want to have direct experience of what I am talking about, and then you shrinu atra drishtantam. Listen to this drishtanta. What is drishtanta? Illustration. Please listen to this illustration. And why? Because there is no other way. We have already been seeing this. The vastu is extremely subtle. There is nothing more subtle than this. It's not available for objectification. So the Jagat has its being, in which is the exact same thing which is the truth of your own being. And so there is only one non-dual thing, which is the Atma of everything, the truth of everything. And you have to know this. There is no second thing to know, to understand. Therefore, tat satyam sa atma tvamasi, tatvamasi Shvetaketu. Tat satyam, third person, correct? And then sa atma, and then tatvamasi comes to the second person. And when you assimilate the second person, that assimilation of tvam can only be through the first person aham. Very beautiful. You see how from the third person to the second person to the first person one has come. Very, very, very nice. And then, so he says that, you pratyakshi kartum ichhasi. If you want to understand this, what is that? If you want to understand this, Vidyamanamapi vastu na upalabhyate. Vidyamanamapi vastu na upalabhyate means that even though it is there, what is there? Vidyamanam, even though it exists, what? Sat. Na upalabhyate, it is not available for objectification. Prakarantarena tu, through a different upaya, through a different method, upalabhyate iti. It can be gained through another method. So what if it is not understood as an object? Therefore, please listen to this illustration. And then this we I think I had read it yesterday. Saya ityadi uktartham. So this saya esho anima, Bhashyakara says we have already seen. And the segue is given here. Yadi tat sat jagato moolam kasmat na upalabhyate. If this sat is the moola, is the source of the jagat, why kasmat na upalabhyate? Why is it not available for me to see? Like you showed me the seed and said, out of this the tree has come, and said Shraddhatsva, because there is no way to see a small imprint or the picture of a leaf or of the sprout in the seed. But still, I have to take it, on face value that this seed leads to this tree. But then here, the Sat is not available. And then, so this is his doubt. So, kasmanna upalabhyate iti etad drishtantena bhagavan bhuya eva vijñāpayatu. So, if Sat is the truth of everything, including myself, and that which is myself is indeed the cause of the whole Jagat, why am I not able to see this? Because when I look at a pot, I can simultaneously appreciate its cause as clay. Pot is available, and the cause of the pot, which is clay, is also available right where the pot is available. So when I see the Jagat, why not I also see the cause of the Jagat, which is the Sat? How to see this? Please teach me with the help of an example. And then, so that's why he says, Vidyamanam api vastu na upalabhyate prakarantarena tu upalabhyate iti shrinu atra drishtantam. If you want to make this if you want to know this directly, if you want to make this, and if you want to understand this, it is, you can see that, na vijñāyate, na upalabhyate. The Sat is not seen nor heard of. You don't know where it is, and you can't taste it. It's not available for common knowledge. But perhaps in another way it can be available for knowing. You see how this is all just unfolding the concept of Shraddhatsva. In another way, it is perhaps made available for knowing. If not, it is available for the eyes. Perhaps you can hear Sat. We don't know. Let's see. Prakarantarena upalabhyate. Through a different method, perhaps it is available. Why? This upalabhyate is also a very important word, because that itself is the definition of Sat. Asti iti upalabhyate. Yad yat, whatever is there in this Jagat, whatever is there, that is available as asti, 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 asti. Even if you say na asti, that asti is hidden in nasti. That asti, 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 asti iti upalabhyate, asti. Everything asti. Absence of pot, asti, asti eva. So this asti iti upalabhyate. And then, so therefore what? So therefore, there is the, this upalabhyate itself is the clue to the presence of the I. Because who is saying upalabhyate? Me, me the great. I'm the one who is saying upalabhyate. Fantastic. If you are the one saying upalabhyate, are you available? Are you existent or not? Come on, what a question. Of course I am existent. Yes. How do you know? Did you have to ask your mother whether you exist or not? No, no, no such thing. I didn't have to call up my parents. I know I exist. That means what? I know aham asmi. I know I am. That is self-evident Sat. So, upalabhyate, when you say, already that self-evident Sat has come. This is what is, this is exactly what is being talked about here. Very beautiful. So, then, this one, this being there, this being there, all the time. Upalabhyate, upalabhyate, upalabhyate. In this upalabhyate, what is there? Sat is hidden. Hidden, why? Because even though it's already there, vidyamanam api vastu na upalabhyate. It is there, but it is not understood. Even though, when I say it is not understood, that is itself is sat. And therefore, what? We have to have another, what is that called? Another way of looking at it. Another way of getting this. Another way of understanding this. And that is what is the that is what is being talked about here in this in this example. What is the example here? So the example, which is a very common example in most of the Vedanta texts, secondary Vedanta texts like this Prakarana Granthas, they have this example of the salt doll. So what do? You take the salt doll into the ocean, and then you drop the salt doll into the ocean. Maybe the salt doll is made of salt crystals and some glue or something like that. And some, in the olden days, what was the glue? Some rice paste, etc., etc. And so, so then that is exactly what it was. And then. Then what happens? Um, the the salt doll melts away. And then what happens after it melts away? It becomes one with the ocean. From this, perhaps this example, even though that is not the point of this example, even though that is not the point of the example, from this story alone, the people who are in the business of writing Vedanta poetry, etc., they keep talking about this example alone. Okay, so then, so then this is what this is what it is. So let us see. Everything is known. As long as everything can be known, the point of this whole story of the salt is that as long as everything is knowable, as long as you have the right means of knowledge. So the upalabdhi is the knowledge, and therefore this example, actually the example is in the form of a experiment. So, a science experiment. And so, what is the experiment? You know, Here we have to, I have to give a little bit of a context here. So, do you know those pink Himalayan salt lamps? Yeah, yeah. So this is what it's based on. So those pink Himalayan, now they say salt lamps, because what do? They take this big crystal of salt, this pink Himalayan salt. Why does the Himalayas have salt? The Himalaya, I thought the ocean has salt. Well, the Himalayas are very rich in minerals. And perhaps the reason that they have salt, for the same reason that they have shells. Long ago, India was part of, long ago, India was part of Africa, and then it broke off and then traveled and hit hit this whole Siberia, what is present day Siberia, and that impact created the mountains. This is what is with a shift in all the tectonic plates, etc. This is the hypothesis that is there. And so that's why you have saligrama in the Himalayas, you have salt in the Himalayas. So you dig up this, and then it's pink in color and solid. And then out of that, you carve out a niche and then put one tea light and then say there is some kind of aroma therapy. It keeps the room, what is that, hydrated or humidified and everything. All these things, may well be true. I don't know about all that. So this is the story. So this is very hip thing to have, these salt, salt whatever, Himalayan salt crystals. And so perhaps, and so what can we conclude? that Shvetaketu's family were also very, very trendy, and then, and then Mrs. Uddalaka perhaps had a lovely salt, big salt crystal, and then it went missing. Why? Because this father and son wanted to have this experiment. And so, what was this experiment? In this big vat of water, Shvetaketu is asked to drop this big crystal of salt and then go away. Come back the next day. Uddalaka says, Mom is going to get really mad. Already she has asked twice where that Himalayan salt, whatever it is, salt doll, salt something, whatever it is, where it is, she's already asking. Come on, you put it in this big vat of water, fish it out, won't you? And Shvetaketu is very happy to oblige. He loves his mummy and he says, No, no problem, I'll fish it out. And he looks and looks and looks and looks. No salt, no Himalayan salt artifact is to be found. Why is it called artifact? Because that's a fact. That it cannot be found is a fact. It cannot be found. Oh, what to do now? Let us read the Shastra. Let us read the Shruti. Lavanam etat
लवणम् एतत्
udake avadhaya
उदके अवधाय
अथमा
अथ मा
प्रातः उपासीदथाः
प्रातः उपासीदथाः
इति
इति
सः तथा चकार
सः तथा चकार
तगुंहोवाच
तगुंहोवाच
यद्दोषा
यद्दोषा
लवणम् उदके अवधाः
लवणम् उदके अवधाः
अङ्ग
अङ्ग
तद् आहर इति
तद् आहर इति
तद्ध
तद्ध
अवमृश्य
अवमृश्य
न विवेद.
न विवेद.
Yeah, let's go straight to the Bhashya since I've already described you the premise of it. Pindarupam lavanam
पिण्डरूपं लवणम्
etad ghatadau udake
एतद् घटादौ उदके
avadhaya
अवधाय
prakshipya
प्रक्षिप्य
अथ मामाम
अथ मामां
श्वः
श्वः
प्रातः
प्रातः
उपसीदथाः
उपसीदथाः
उपगच्छेथाः इति
उपगच्छेथाः इति
सः
सः
पित्रा
पित्रा
उक्तमर्थम्
उक्तमर्थं
प्रत्यक्षीकर्तुमिच्छन्
प्रत्यक्षीकर्तुमिच्छन्
तथा चकार
तथा चकार
तं होवाच
तं होवाच
परेद्युः
परेद्युः
प्रातः
प्रातः
तद्लवणं दोषा
यद्लवणं दोषाः
रात्रौ उदके
रात्रौ उदके
अवधाः
अवधाः
निक्षिप्तवानसि
निक्षिप्तवान् असि
अङ्ग
अङ्ग
हे वत्स
हे वत्स
तद् आहर
तद् आहर
इति उक्तः
इति उक्तः
तद्लवणम्
तद् लवणम्
आजिहीर्षुः
आजिहीर्षुः
ह किल
किल
अवमृश्य उदके
अवमृश्य उदके
न विवेद.
न विवेद
न विज्ञातवान्
न विज्ञातवान्
यथा तल्लवणम्
यथा तल्लवणम्
विद्यमानमेव
विद्यमानमेव
तत् अप्सुलीनम्
तद् अप्सुलीनम्
संश्लिष्टम् अभूत्.
संश्लिष्टम् अभूत्.
Very beautiful. Both the mantra and the bhashya, very, very nice. And so let us see the see this. So he says, Lavanam etat udake avadhaya atha ma ma pratah upasidathaha. So it was an evening class, okay, that that which we are witnessing here. Evening class. And Shvetaketu had a job. What is that? What was the job? He says, bring a jug of water, a jar of water, a pot of water, and gives Shvetaketu this big salt crystal, like this Himalayan salt, like a big one. And then that's why it is called Pindarupam Lavanam, because Bhashyakara doesn't want you to imagine a measly 1 teaspoonful of salt or a small little, what is that, rock salt crystals. No, no, no. We are talking of something big. Pindarupam Lavanam, solid form of the salt. Udake avadhaya prakshipya. So drop this salt in this huge vat or a big pot of water. Then, then what? Upasidathaha pratah mam. Class dismissed. What? And Shetaketu is just so happy. Evening class, very nice. No big talk on how to listen to the Shastra, no big talk on Shraddha and cultivating this and cultivating that. Very easy class, wonderful class. All I had to do is drop this salt in water, and then now I can and now can go get to watch Netflix. Fantastic. Yes, I have been neglecting my queue for a few days. I think I should go and attend to it. Wonderful. And this is a fantastic class. Because what does the father says? You're dismissed. Come back to me tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. Bell has rung. Class is dismissed. Shwetaketu is very happy. It was a great class. Whoever was wanting to ask, he would say it was a great class. So Shwetaketu skipped away and then returned the next day. Why did he return the next day? Because he had Shraddha and he wanted to directly experience what the father was saying. And the father did say, return the next day. Yeah. And then, so then after that, what happened? After returning the following morning, Uddalaka said to Shvetaketu, what did he say? Paredyuhu pratah yad lavanam dosha ratrau udake avadhaha anga he vatsa tad ahara. It is paredyuhu pratha, the morning, the following morning, the salt that I told you, this is the following morning. So the salt that I told you to put it in that water when the previous night. Dosha means night, okay? Yeah. It is not dosa, okay? It is dosha. Dosha here means night. And that previous night, that salt which you nikshiptavan asi, which you placed in the water, hey anga, hey vatsa, oh dear boy, oh dear child, please fish that out for me, won't you? And yes, yes, daddy, I will do that right away. No problem at all. So saying, what does it do? What, because he is eager. Eager means what? Eager to retrieve the salt. Really eager to retrieve the salt. How many words in English? really eager to retrieve forwards, okay? And here in Sanskrit, ajihir shuhu. What is ajihir shuhu? Desiderative construction. Hartum ichha, you know, jihirsha. Hartum ichha. The to take away, the desire to take away. So here it is is there to bring, to retrieve, to bring back the salt. So eager to do that for his father, because he himself, you see, here is where the proof is. It was not that the neighboring boy went and put the salt, crystal there, and then Shwetaketu was told to retrieve, and Shwetaketu could have been very dismissive and say, who knows whether the fellow dropped it or not, my friend. But here Shwetaketu himself had dropped it. And so he couldn't say, I haven't dropped it. But then what happened? He fished for it around, went on a little salt fishing expedition and combed the water with his hands. And having done that, having combed the water, meaning having searched for it, avamrishya, where udake in the water, having searched for it, naviveda, could not find it, could not know where it was. Yatha lavanam, yatha tal lavanam vidyamanam eva, sat apsulinam samslishtam abhut. In which manner that salt was very much available, and you cannot say the salt is not there, vidyamanam eva, but still na upalabhyate. That is the whole point. Could not find it at all. The salt is very much there, but it is resolved into the water, some slishtam abhu. And so therefore it is it is not available for objectification. It is also not available in the same form as it was yesterday. Yesterday it had a particular form. Let's say it was, 6 inches in height, and then it was, 4 inches in 5 inches in what is that, circumference, pink in color, and then all that is gone. The water is just the water alone. You cannot make out anything. And so then the mantra says, Yatha Vilin, yeah, you can repeat. Yatha
यथा
Vilinameva Anga
विलीनमेव अङ्ग
Asya Antad Achama Iti
अस्य अन्ताद् आचम इति
Kathamiti
कथमिति
Lavanamiti
लवणमिति
Madhyadachama Iti
मध्याद् आचम इति
Kathamiti
कथमिति
लवणमिति
लवणमिति
अन्तादाचम इति
अन्ताद् आचम इति
कथमिति
कथमिति
लवणमिति
लवणमिति
अभिप्रास्य
अभिप्रास्य
एतदथ
एतदथ
मा उपसीदथाः इति
मा उपसीदथाः इति
तद्ध तथा चकार
तद्ध तथा चकार
तच्छश्वत् संवर्तते
तच्छश्वत् संवर्तते
अगुम्होवाच
तगुम्होवाच
अत्र वावकिल
अत्र वावकिल
सत् सौम्य
तत्सौम्य
न निभालयसे
न निभालयसे
अत्रैव किल इति.
अत्रैव किल इति.
Yeah. So then he was told to sip the water. That water which was there, he was told to sip. And then he was told to sip first from the top, then from the middle, then from the very end, from the bottom. Katham, how is it? Katham, how is it? The father says, Lavanam, salty. And the middle one, how is that? Salty. And the end one, how is that? Salty. This seems like, again, like the other one, like the other example. When one first looks at it, with some kind of the eyes which have the scalpel of, what should I say, scalpel of judgment. And when we analyze this story, one cannot but wonder, like, why can't somebody who is 24 years old know even this much? That you dropped a big hunk of salt into the water, and then the next day, of course, without saying, he shouldn't even have looked for it. He should have immediately said, of course, it is all, what is that? Melted. It is there. It is in the water. He need not even sip the water three times, not even once, let alone three times. Then what is this? And he's supposed to be, supposed to be having a 4.0, what is that, GPA in college, and in his Gurukula, and he was the best, east or west. And then how? What is this incongruity here? What is this disconnect? And one wonders. But then you have to see it from slightly differently. You have to see it from the standpoint of someone who is being taught not the principles of some geography, or what, these kinds of things, or some kind of physics. This is not a this is not a, what is that called, this is not a lesson in physics. This, if we look at it as a lesson in physics, it makes no sense. I mean, the fellow is 24 years old, this much he should know. If you mix sugar in water, it gets whatever salt in water is salty, etc. He should know. But this has to be seen as a, what is that? What is that word that is used here repeatedly in the Shruti? Yadi pratyakshi kartum ichhasi. If you want to make this your own, go along with this. Here is where the Shraddha comes in. Because what is not being demonstrated is something that is available for other means of knowledge, namely the eyes, taste, etc. What is being demonstrated is something else. What is, two things are being demonstrated. One, number one, vidyamanamapi na upalabhyate. Even though it is present, it is not available for objectification. Number one. Number two, prakarantarena upalabhyate eva. It is available for a different means of knowledge. So if you don't see it, that means you are lacking the appropriate means of knowledge. So we need to bring in a different means of knowledge through which you will understand. That is how you have to see this example. Not not put down Uddalaka and say what is wrong with this Uddalaka. He's writing Dr. Seuss books. How is it in the beginning? Salty. How is it in the middle? Salty. How is it at the end? Salty. This is not the point. And neither should we put down Shweta Ketu. That, okay, this person is of marriageable age, and he still doesn't know that salt put in the water is going to be salty. Hello, that is not the idea. Because the example is demonstrating something other than that which is already available for the means of knowledge here. So for the various means of knowledge. So, what are the two things that it demonstrates? Even though it is there, it is not objectifiable, and it hasn't undergone any transformation, because Kathamiti, lavanamiti. The salt is very much there. It hasn't undergone any transformation. It is still very much there. All pervasive, like the all pervasive Sat, it is very much there. So it is very much there, even though it's not available for objectification. And then, what is the second thing that it demonstrates? You have to look for a different means of knowledge that is appropriate for this particular thing, to show this particular, to understand this. That you need a different means of knowledge. None of the means of knowledge that you operate are is available. None of the means of knowledge that you operate is available at all here. You need to look for something different. And what is that? Shabda Pramana, Shastra, Guru, all these things. So, if you look at it as an experiment that demonstrates this, then this is something that Shvetaketu did not know. And so the Shastra cannot be accused of redundancy. Punarukti dosha is not there. And then, so that is definitely there. And then we don't have the fallacy of redundancy. And the Shastra also cannot be accused of not being a pramana, because the Shastra is always supposed to show another. If it is a pramana, it should confirm to three different things: anadhigata, phalavat, arthabodhakam pramanam. Anadhigata means that which the Shastra demonstrates, it should not be available for any means of knowledge. And then that which is demonstrated, that which is unfolded, that which is come to which you come to know, should be understood as, as artha, as meaningful, deliberate, purposeful, and having some effect that is hitam and shubham for you, such as moksha, which is both hitam and shubham. And so this is what the whole thing, this is what the idea is. Okay, yeah. And so this is why, so this is a small little caveat here. Okay, bhashya, let us read. यथा विलीनं लवणं
यथा विलीनं लवणं
भवेत्थ
न वेत्थ
तथापि
तथापि
तच्चक्षुषा
तच्चक्षुषा
दर्शनेन च
स्पर्शनेन च
पिण्डरूपं लवणम्
पिण्डरूपं लवणम्
अगृह्यमाणम्
अगृह्यमाणम्
विद्यते एव अप्सु
विद्यते एव अप्सु
उपलभ्यते च
उपलभ्यते च
उपाय अन्तरेण
उपाय अन्तरेण
इति एतत्
इति एतत्
पुत्रम्
पुत्रं
प्रत्ययायितुम् इच्छन् आह
प्रत्ययायितुम् इच्छन् आह
अङ्ग
अङ्ग
अस्य उदकस्य अन्तात्
अस्य उदकस्य अन्तात्
उपरि गृहीत्वा
उपरि गृहीत्वा
आचम इति
आचम इति
उक्त्वा पुत्रम्
उक्त्वा पुत्रं
तथा कृतवन्तम्
तथा कृतवन्तम्
उवाच कथमिति
उवाच कथमिति
इतरः आह
इतरः आह
लवणं स्वादुतः इति
लवणं स्वादुतः इति
तथा मध्यात् उदकस्य गृहीत्वा
तथा मध्यात् उदकस्य गृहीत्वा
आचम इति
आचम इति
कथमिति
कथमिति
लवणमिति
लवणमिति
तथा
तथा
अन्तात्
अन्तात्
अधोदेशात् गृहीत्वा
अधोदेशात् गृहीत्वा
आचम इति
आचम इति
कथमिति
कथमिति
लवणमिति
लवणमिति
यदि एवम्
यदि एवम्
अभिप्रास्य
अभिप्रास्य
परित्यज्य
परित्यज्य
एतदुदकम्
एतद् उदकम्
आचम्य
आचम्य
अथ माम्
अथ माम्
उपसीदथाः इति
उपसीदथाः इति
तद्ध
तद्ह
तथा चकार
तथा चकार
लवणं परित्यज्य
लवणं परित्यज्य
पितृसमीपम् आजगाम इत्यर्थः।
पितृसमीपम् आजगाम इत्यर्थः।
इदं वचनं ब्रुवन्
इदं वचनं ब्रुवन्
तल्लवणं
तल्लवणं
तस्मिन्नेव उदके
तस्मिन्नेव उदके
यन्मया रात्रौ क्षिप्तम्
यन्मया रात्रौ क्षिप्तम्
शश्वत् नित्यं संवर्तते
शश्वत् नित्यं संवर्तते
विद्यमानमेव सत्
विद्यमानमेव सत्
सम्यग् वर्तते इति।
सम्यग् वर्तते इति।
Yeah. So, yatha vilinam eva lavanam. So, that lavanam, that salt which was vilina, dissolved. So, the dissolved salt, he could not find out, tathapi tat chakshusha sparshanena cha pindarupam lavanam agrihyamanam vidyate eva apsu. That's the whole point. That pindarupam lavanam, that lavana which was in the form of a big pinda, a solid form. What happened? So even though you don't see or touch the dissolved salt, and it is not available for you to recognize by the eyes and the sense of touch which you had done previously, don't see the salt crystal, you cannot touch the salt crystal, yet it is still there in the water, number one. And number two, it is available for understanding the salt through another method, through other means. So, desirous of making Shvetaketu understand, the father said, have a sip of the water from the top. Top means what? Antad achama. Anta means from the from the end. But again, which end? See, this is very, very interesting. I find the Shastra is not partisan at all. See, if you look at it from the standpoint of Australia, the anta is upari. Okay, yeah. So, from the standpoint of from a different standpoint, the that which is anta means which is the end is in the beginning. So it is, the Shastra is so committed to this vision of wholeness that there is no end, there is no beginning. So antad achama, sip it from the end means sip it from the top. Okay, the top is the bottom from some other way. Okay, that's why even in the Taittiriya Upanishad, whenever the word akasha comes, it has the adho swaras, the adha swaras. The swaras are all this: akashad vayuhu, like this. So akasha, one must not think of sky or space and look at the top. Because akasha is everywhere, and so same thing here. So the directions are very nicely, what's the word for it, very nicely jumbled up deliberately on purpose, so that your orientation is not just linear and so boring all the time. Very boring. So this way one is flexible and alive to various possibilities. That is Vedanta, not someone who is all rigid and uptight and, oh, what does this mean and what does that mean and I have to write it down and which this and what that. No, you have to let go here. And that's why antad achama means from the top, take it. The first anta is the top, then the madhya is always the madhya. So then he says kathamiti, how is it? Salty. Madhyad achama, he is told. And then how is it? So Svetaketu said it is swadutaha lavanam. So taste wise, it is salty. Then you throw away the top of the water. Then you sip the middle of the water and try it. And what is it like? salty. And that part of the water was also thrown away. Shvetaketu says, sip from the bottom, adho deshat. Then bottom from the standpoint of the jug of the water, the jar or pot or whatever it is. How is it? Salty. Even though we have translated achama as sip, means this achamanam is not just sipping. It has the religious and ritual connotations of purifying the antahkarana. Yeah. So, Achyutaya Namaha, Anantaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha. With that, you take three, sips of water. This is for inner purification. Very important ritual for a Vaidika. And because when the achamana this goes properly, then the whole day goes well. Really, it's just amazing. So the elders in the village, even after talking to somebody, or sometimes what happens, before finishing one job and starting another, after finishing one job and starting another, they will do this achamanam. And then if they talk to somebody, and then let's say they participate in a little bit of gossip. Oh, you know how they are. Yes, we know how they are very well. They procrastinate, they don't deliver on time. Yes, they are always like this. Oh, Machyuta Namaha, oh, Mananta Namaha, oh, Govinda Namaha. It's not a palate cleanser. It's the palette of the antahkarana, which has the paint of raga desha. It's the palette of that. It's that kind of a palette cleanser. It cleanses this is all about antahkarana shuddhi here. So then what happens? The salt experiment is done. Yadi evam, if this is what you say, that from the bottom to the top it is salty, then abhiprasya, having thrown away the water, achamya, clean your mouth, because now your mouth will all be, you will look like a chicken. All the mouth will be puckered up like that because of the salt. So better have another sip of water, clean your mouth, and rinse your mouth, and then approach me. And then, he approached Shvetaketu, has now been, the experiment has been successful, because the Shvetaketu says, Shvetaketu, what does he say? The salt that was dropped in the water in the previous evening class is very much there. Samvartate, samyak vartate. It did not disappear. It is unavailable for sight. It is unavailable for the sense of touch. But by another means, it can be recognized. What is the other means here? In reference to the example, it is through the tongue, through the sense of taste. And in the same manner, that sadvastu which you are desirous of knowing is also available through another upaya, another means. What is that means? What means is that? We will see next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions? We have just a couple of minutes if you want. There is one. So pradosha, that is how it becomes dawn. No, pradosha is it is not dawn. Pradosha means evening. Yeah, yeah. So it is the evening, twilight here. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh, yes,
That's
correct.
when
Pradosha is twilight,
yeah,
correct.
that
Yeah.
is when the puja is done. So,
Correct, correct. Yeah.
so any other questions? Okay. All the best. Take care. Om Tat Sat.